Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.eliances.com.
That's right, and welcome back and stuff. Thank you too, by the way, for the
Welcome
feedback
back to Eliances Heroes
that we continue to get when I had on recently the founder of GoDaddy, Bob Parson. Make sure that you check out past interviews by going to eliances.com. That's ELIANCES.com, the only place where entrepreneurs line. All right, are you ready for this? All right, we've got with us, I'm going to first tell you about his background. Hall of Fame athlete, Ivy League scholar, if that wasn't enough, 3-time presidential aide, philanthropist, inducted into the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame in 2009 as the most accurate kicker in NFL. With that, please welcome Nick Lowery. All right, Nick, how are you?
I'm great. And I want to thank, first of all, everybody. It's Eliances with one L, because I want everybody to know it's the best business networking I've ever seen in 27 years now of living in the Valley. So thank you.
Wonderful. And we're so grateful that you're a member of Eliances. You come to a variety of events and stuff. And definitely it's phenomenal having you part of it and having you there and involved. So you're involved in a lot of projects. Let's first just jump in here, though. What does it mean to be naked to you? In other words, about your book, Naked and Alone, with not one, but 80,000 people. Is that possible?
Yeah, my book's coming out next month because to me, the hardest thing for all of us is to confront being rejected, confront actually our dreams, and do it in front of 80,000 people, or many times 10 to 20 million people watching on television. That's what a kicker has to do. And it took me till my third year to be ready for that. So I talk about how I was rejected 11 times by 8 teams, and the process internally, but also the lessons that apply to all of life, which is to look at giving ourselves permission to make as many mistakes as quickly as possible. Not stupid mistakes, not life and death mistakes, but what I would call healthy risk, so that we get to not only understand what to do, but maybe more importantly, what not to do, how not to kick a field goal. And so for me, from that point on, the blessing of being rejected was having that eternal hunger to keep getting better, to not just be great 1 year or 2 years, and to beat out the greatest kicker, by the way, in the history of the game, Jan Stenerud, to break all his records. None of that would have happened without 2 years of trial and lots of errors. So the book's about that, about enduring that. And also, I think you and I can recommend the idea of responsibility, right? A closed loop, where as a kicker, you're naked in front of everyone. They see whether you make it or you don't. And unfortunately, in life today, too many of our cultural shifts have been, for instance, through the internet, try customer service on anything, and the internet never deal with real people. So these are lessons that are important, because I think we need to reinstall and reaffirm those great, well, let's say Chicago, Middle America, where you're from, great hardworking values of taking responsibility for everything you do, because that's where greatness happens.
Now, here's the thing, though, Nick. You said how many? 11 times? 11 times were you rejected?
Yeah, the 12th one was perfect.
All right. But 99.99% of people would have given up after the first, definitely the second. No way would most anybody pass the third. So how, like, where did it come from with you to say, well, I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep trying. I mean, really, by the 9th one, were you not just like, I'm done? What made you go past the 11th or to past the 10th?
I think managing, David, your internal conversation is really important. I think surrounding ourselves with great mentors. You are a phenomenal, everybody, a phenomenal mentor right here, David Cogan. He starts every Eliances talking about his kids and what his kids have taught him, but it also goes in the other direction, which is, of course, what us as parents do. If we think of ourselves, I just was lucky to be surrounded with Dick Johnson and Gary Gardner and David McElhenney and John Rassius. Those are 4 mentors I had to feel that one is magnetized to people that bring out our best is so important. And that kept me going. But also the intrinsic conversation of, hey, they may think I failed, but I'm getting better. I'm starting to outkick those other kickers. That's what entrepreneurs have to do. That's what an actor that auditions 100 times, even the best. Bradley Cooper's been talking about it lately. Matt Damon being rejected literally 100 times, and somehow, I don't know how they do it, not having that affect your drive, your focus, your alignment of your bigger goal, which is to be the best you can be. So that was so important to me, to have great mentors, and then to pay attention to, am I getting better? And how can I keep getting better? And finally, the last piece is that you have to be with people that are aligned with you in values. That's where Think and Grow Rich and all those principles of being aligned are about. And of course, we come back to Eliances. We're aligned as entrepreneurs in being the best we can be and continue to learn. That's the only way we can live life.
Now, as active as you are, you speak all over the world. You're involved in fundraisers. You're a philanthropist, and you've got a million things going on. How do you have the patience and the time to, focus on a book? It takes a tremendous amount of work, and for those words to get in your brain for you to then put on paper.
My friend Tony Dungy, who is, Hall of Fame coach, first African-American NFL head coach. But before that, he was a assistant coach, defensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. And, even he has had people helping him write the book. I'm writing the book. My friend Christine is helping me organize all the details around it, but I am writing the book, and it's difficult. It should probably have been renamed The Art of Procrastination, because I wrote 220 pages by 2012, and then I put it aside for 11 years. But now there's so much more. It's a richer book now because of it. There's some of my poetry in it. There's some of my interviews and anecdotes from my career, interviews on Head Games Radio on Sirius Satellite with top sports psychologists and people that have become champions. And they will again say the best thing was realizing that they were not failures just because they had the guts to keep trying. And that's what an entrepreneur has to do. So I just am keeping on trying to make it the best book I can be. And I'm excited because in the end, when we transcend as athletes what can be a very narcissistic culture in sports, and keep remembering that these skills can help other people. If you have a spiritual life, you know that my skills and my trials and my adversities help me help other people endure and keep going. And that's what we need. And that's where the bliss of life really is.
Yeah, and you definitely keep going. In fact, too, again, you're watching, listening to me, David Cogan, host of the Eliances Heroes Show. Make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's ELIANCS.com. We have with us again Nick Lowery, Hall of Fame athlete, Ivy League scholar, 3-time presidential aide, philanthropist.
Oh, stop.
I mean, it goes on and on. I could spend the next 30 minutes talking about you. But again, make sure you go to LowerySpeaks.com. Again, LowerySpeaks.com. So with all going on and stuff like this, who is the target audience for your book? Is there an age? Is there a sex? Is it what would you say?
Well, it is a little complicated because I want to write it so that a high schooler, a kid that's in 8th grade can pick it up. Some call it a bathroom book. I want you to be able to pick it up on page 340 or page 2 and have something of value. I've always admired Tony Robbins' books because not as much as seminars, I think, because the books and the tapes, you have to put yourself into it, do the work yourself. And his books have 3 times as much valuable information. I want each page to have something you can connect to, and then action steps too, because that's where our habits are born. And getting up every day, every game was different for me. No matter how hard I worked with a sports psychologist, Dr. Andrew Jacobs, who'd been with the Olympic cycling team, and they'd set records. And I knew that if on a Wednesday, I could look at what are the things that might distract me this week, so that I can get them out of the way so that on Sunday I'm ready. That's the kind of preparation that really helped me. But even then, every game was different. So you practice, prepare, and then you're ready for anything. You have to have that attitude because in the end, the game may come down to you. And as individuals, we have to, as leaders, we have to assume that I'm going to do my job and I'll let others do theirs, but I have to be ready, most importantly, to do mine no matter what, no matter when.
Now, what's it like when you're in the stand and you're watching the game and you've seen the Chiefs win so many Super Bowls so quickly? you're connected. You know what it's like to be on the field. What's going through your mind though when you're seeing and watching and all the excitement and all that, because you're so part of it?
Well, we have a suite. Right behind me over here is El Bandido Yankee Tequila. We have a suite at Arrowhead Stadium. It is hard. When we were playing Miami, David, in the playoff game, it was 23 below. I took my friend, you know him, Scott Passmore, has been anchor of Good Morning Arizona for 34 years. He's from Kansas City. We went right down to the field, and I actually had taken off my coat. I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a couple of things. I practice out here in the winter. I get in my pool, which is pretty much freezing cold, but it was cold. And I'm down there thinking I could run on the field right now and kick a 50-yard field goal. The adrenaline is there. But what really most happens to me is watching Andy Reid, watching Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, that whole team is what a great team they are, what great winners they are. They were not nearly as good as they normally would be during the regular season. They were up and down, particularly towards the end. They had a terrible game against the Raiders. Then they had a frustrating game against the Buffalo Bills, and they lost those games. But what happened? They've been so used to coming in the playoffs that they switched to another gear. And the gear is a level of not only individual focus, but collective focus. Their defense was ridiculous, thanks to Steve Spagnuolo. So defense, boy, you have to work with your teammates, and you got to be tough as well. So it was really fun for me to see this team with a completely different script this year, relying on their defense, but of course, relying in the end on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's leadership. He literally will cheer, David, the other guys on the other team after they've hit him hard. He goes, great hit, nice hit, let's go. And after a while, some of the guys, I think, as much as they want to hurt the quarterback because they want to win, they kind of lay off him a tiny bit because they like him. So that's an unbelievable level of leadership. Larry Fitzgerald had it here, I think, to be able to just take that hit and bounce right back up and not take it personally, not do the trash talking, just be focused on what you have to do. And that's really, in the end, Patrick Mahomes is the ace. He's the trump card.
Absolutely. Amazing. Nick, where do you get all your energy though? And you stay so healthy and stuff. You've got you just, every time I see you, every time we've talked and stuff, you've just got so much energy behind you, no matter what day. And we've spent an evening together, early in the morning and various times. Where does that come from? Like what's your daily routine or something?
David, thank you. Well, you've got pretty good energy. You've seen Champions for the Homeless. When you're doing the things you love with the people you love, I'm 67 now. I can't believe it because I feel like I'm 40, maybe. But it's staying young by doing the things you love. I do have to say, I'm not married. I don't have kids to worry about right now. So I have that extra time, and that is a blessing. And my heart goes out to single moms and single dads and married couples because that adds a lot to it. But at the same time, I love doing the things that I do. Like right now, my mother had dementia. My brother, Chris, you might remember, came out here for 3 years, was making progress. And then COVID happened and he got prostate cancer. And suddenly he was hospitalized 6 times in 11 months and died, probably mostly from the complications of Alzheimer's. And so I'm working with an AI company that is integrating 2,000 markers, not just 5 symptoms, but many markers to look at the individual pathway towards Alzheimer's. Because, once again, I love this work. My energy is there because I'm living this to honor my brother and my mother and to help other families that are looking at all of us, looking at aging with dignity and grace or deteriorating gradually when we turn 70 and 80. So many people today, I'm sure you know a few, have Alzheimer's or dementia or both. And we're excited. We use precision medicine. So we use doctors to analyze a 30-page report from the AI. And this is going to be all over the world. There is so much demand, unfortunately. But the good news is the trials we've done, David, we've been able to literally stop the progress, or if you will, the deterioration into Alzheimer's and dementia 75% of the time. So just like with cancer, when you diagnose something early, even if you and I mean, you're only 25, I know, but we probably have some of those markers of dementia in us. I know when I walk into my kitchen, there'll be times when I go, what was I coming in here for?
Right.
But if we diagnose it early, we can stop it. And I think that's what would be better than a generation of people in their 70s and 80s that can be great mentors, great leaders, great storytellers like you are. And with our memories, what do we take with us? If our bodies get older, but our minds stay young, we can help this world be a better place and bring us, with all the divisiveness on the right and the left, bring us together in what we all agree on, hard work, loving our family, great community members, taking responsibility, maybe even paying a few taxes.
I love it. Love it. All right. So we've got time for one more question here. And I think this is important too. Out of your entire football career, if there was one point of most excitement, or perhaps what you felt make the biggest impact on your life, because you carry, right, every game, everything, all that going forward. But if there was one point that was the turning point, the aha moment, what was that?
Well, I'm going to give you one in high school, one in my pro. High school was Dick Johnson had trained us to be able to run on the field. This is a high school team with no timeouts and kick a game-winning field goal. My last game of my high school career for St. Albans against Landon, our big rival, they were going to win the championship. And we were down 7-6. And it was muddy, it was cold, it was rainy, and I'm talking not light. I mean, it was muddy and rainy. But because we prepared for adversity, we drove right down the field. I ran on the field with 20 seconds left. We got the ball off with 2 seconds left and hit a 43-yard field goal that went through the uprights as time expired. And all the other fans, there were 5,000 people there from the other team, were running on the field because they didn't think a kicker could make that kick.
Right.
And watch the video, which I didn't see for 25 years. I watched it about 10 years ago. There's a delay, and then all our people come on. So that's the first thing, is the idea that there is greatness in all of us, and I may have had potential, right? The second thing is the opposite, which is we're playing Cleveland, and in 1989, so it's many years ago, but the lesson still proves out. I missed a field goal at the end of the game. I actually kicked one with 4 minutes left to tie it. And the conditions were terrible, I will say, but still, I missed one. They were offside. I missed another one. And then overtime, I missed another one. It's like, what is wrong with me? And it really dug deep. It really tore a hole in me. I was most accurate kicker in NFL history, and here I am totally letting down and choking on my team. Now, we went on at the end of the season. Joe Namath was announcing, and we beat the Miami Dolphins with the last-second field goal. But that season was and that game turned around my attitude. I just dug deeper. I'm 34. I know they're going to try to find a replacement. And I just worked harder than I ever had. Not only physically, I stopped running distance. I got muscular. I put on 10 pounds, but I also did a lot of work internally. So I felt independent. I felt like my directive was in here. So no one, when you're on the sidelines, you've got 10,000 people within hearing distance, right? At least a couple of them are going to say a few things you may not want to hear. Very Shakespearean, loving sonnets, as they do in Chicago, for instance. And I went on to lead the NFL in scoring. I went from 77%, which was a record. The old record was 72%, up to 87%. I had 24 field goals in a row, then 21 field goals in a row the next year, then 22 for 24. I just took it to another level. So the failure taught me how deep can I dig? How hard can I work, and how smart can I work to get even better than I ever thought I could? So that game, all those rejections, that was the public thing. The Kansas City Star had a cartoon, David, and I was like one of these clowns with a box coming, exploding, a spring coming out of my head, because that one game they thought, oh, this guy's lost it. So how quickly fame, success can be taken away. We have to invest and align with our best so that those things only teach us and make us better.
You're right. Oh, absolutely phenomenal. I got to tell you, you were here today. We had this opportunity again. Nick Lowery, Hall of Fame athlete, Ivy League scholar, 3-time Presidential League philanthropist, inducted into the Kansas City Hall of Fame. 2009 is the most accurate kicker. Make sure you go to LowerySpeaks.com and make sure that you get his book too. Naked and Alone with 80,000 people. How many people could say that? Nick, thanks again so much for being on the Eliances Heroes Show.
Thank you, brother.
And hope to see you at Eliances meeting soon, but you got to dance with me now too. Got to do a little dance though. Got to do a little dance.
You're the best.